Now, for more on China's relationship with Australia, we're joined from Beijing by our current affairs commentator, Einar Tangen. So, Einar, in your view, how are the recent tensions between the two countries impacting the business side of their relationship?
Well, Rachelle, as you pointed out, the numbers show that there's tensions, but business goes on as usual. But that could be impacted as we go forward. There's a lot of noise on the political side. There's siding with India, Japan, and the U.S. on some sort of military cooperation or alliance. These types of things are not doing well. And one of the problems is that Australia it should not consider itself immune. Everything that Australia has actually can be gotten in other parts of the world. I think South America will be watching this relationship very carefully.
So do you think this is a temporary situation, or is it a sign of a potential shift in the relationship going forward?
Well, it's going to be a growing pain because what you have is a country with huge resources, small population, and a country with huge population and a need for resources. So they're trying to figure out exactly how they work together. Unfortunately, on the political side, I think there's been some hysterics about, China, Reds under the bed. China is coming for us. They're going to buy us up. You saw this back in the 70s with the Japanese. It's a kind of hysterical instant reaction. It generally tends to calm down as time goes on.
Now, since they do enjoy such a huge trading relationship, if a slowdown were to happen for a more extended period of time, how would each country be affected?
Well, quite frankly, I mean, China has other alternatives for everything that Australia exports. So it's not a situation where China would be, cut off. For Australia, remember, 25 years of expansion, economic expansion, consecutive, would be undermined. The relationship is significant. You're talking about 60 billion coming towards, 90 billion going towards China, only 60 billion coming in to Australia in terms of trade flows. That's a $30 billion difference. This is really the largest positive trade relationship that Australia has. It would be very, very difficult to make this up. They've made noise about India, but it's not going to be the same, and it's going to be a significantly longer process in order to get to that level where the China-Australian relationship is.
Now let's also look at the free trade deal between the two countries. Where do things stand currently, and how much more potential do you see in this relationship?
Well, CHAFTA currently allows about 86% of the trade between the two nations to be completely not tax-free, import duty-free. So this has been a very, very positive thing. You've seen a lot of talk about Australian beef coming in, but it's a crowded market. So what you see here is, long-term, there could be very significant effects for the Australian side. China, less so. How they manage this is very important. There's obviously a great deal of goodwill in China towards Australia, but this could be weakened if there are continued attacks on Chinese students and people living there.
And in terms of what could happen ahead, which areas of cooperation are the two sides working on expanding?
Well, there's a tremendous amount of agriculture and services. This is one of the areas where Australia believes that they have a strong suit. Obviously they have the educational assets, and services actually make about 12% of their exports to China, which is equal to their second largest export item. So it's something where it's a bright future as long as the politics are handled. It's quite surprising to hear people talking about the South China Sea as if it's somehow on the doorstep of Australia. It really isn't. It's a completely different issue. But once again, the international press and also the press in Australia keeps inflating this issue to insist that somehow China is doing something nefarious or making a land grab where it does not necessarily look at the actions of others in the same area.